Hello guys, you're welcome again to another After Effects tutorials, and today I want to show you a very unique way of animating a logo. The style is trendy and unique like this one. So support me on this one. Do not forget to hit the like on the video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and do not forget to turn on the notification. Then come back, let's get started. So I'm gonna simply start with a composition. Feel free to choose your own setting. This is a pretty short logo reveal animation, so we're gonna make sure we set that to 7 seconds and then hit OK. Right click on your timeline, go to new and then create a new solid layer. Make sure you name this BG because it is definitely going to be our background, and make sure also the color is set to white. Then hit OK. Now it is time to import our logo. We're going to navigate to where we have our logo. Drag and drop the logo into the project manager window. You can also do the same if you drag it to the composition timeline. Make sure you set this to footage and then hit OK. Drag and drop the logo into your timeline. Hit S on your keyboard to scale this down to whatever suits your need. For me, this is okay. So I'm gonna Control Shift C on my keyboard to pre-compose this. I want to make sure, or you must make sure, you move all attributes to the new composition and name this logo holder. Then hit OK. That way you can always come back in and then use this same animation for another logo reveal animation. That means this is going to be a template. By the way, if you want to download this template for free, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section, or you can simply head on to X, that is the former Twitter, and follow me at SSB Otaru. Then you message me and I will send you a link to download this logo animation template for free. So now the next thing you're gonna do now is go to this option right here. Make sure you select the ellipse tool and make sure no layer is selected on your timeline. You're gonna click on the center of your composition, hold down Ctrl and Shift to keep everything perfect. Change the fill color to white and make sure the stroke is set to none. Then we're going to add a drop shadow effect to this. Now let's switch this panel to effects and control so that we can start making changes to our effects. We're going to adjust the distance of the shadow and then increase the feather to whatever look nice to you, and then also reduce the opacity right here. I'm going to set this to 25. And this is what we have. So I will select this shape layer and move it right below the logo composition. Move your time indicator to 1 second forward in time. Hit S on your keyboard to reveal the scale property. Then set a keyframe. Then move back to 0 and then set the value of the scale keyframe to 0. I'm gonna select this keyframe. Hit F now on your keyboard to easy ease, or you simply right click, go to keyframe assistant, then select easy ease. So I'm gonna edit the speed graph, switch this timeline to the speed graph editor, then pull the speed graph inward like this. And now if you preview this, this is what we're gonna have. Beautiful. So we're gonna select the logo holder, hit P on our keyboard to reveal the position property. So we're gonna move forward in time to where the scaling of the first shape is completed, and then set a keyframe for the position. So we're gonna also hold down the Shift key and then hit R to reveal the rotation property while still keeping the position property visible. Then set a keyframe for that. So we're gonna simply come around this point right here and drag the position downward. Make sure you drag it just right below the sphere right here. That is the cycle that you added the drop shadow. So for the rotation, we're gonna leave that at the moment. So we're gonna move toward half right here, toward this point, and then move the position upward like this. Make sure it doesn't overlap or exceed the cycle. Then we're gonna set a rotation right here. We're gonna simply rotate this like this. Beautiful. So we're gonna move back to this point and set rotation to the opposite direction. Beautiful. So we're gonna select all these keyframes, right click on them, go to keyframe assistant, and then easy ease. Go into the graph editor and edit your speed graph just like this. I'm gonna also do the same thing for the rotation. If you preview now, this is what we have. Beautiful. So we're gonna simply just adjust the keyframes. I'll select all these keyframes. I'll just move it slightly inward and just make adjustments to all of these. So let's preview again. Of course, this is not written on stone. Feel free to experiment whatever works for you. You can also change the movement. You must not follow this. I'm just showing you what is possible. So what I'm going to do now is select the shape layer right below it and Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate it. I'll move it right above the logo holder composition. I'll also turn on the drop shadow effect. I will select the logo holder and set the track matte to alpha matte. That way it will look as if it is coming from inside the cycle. Beautiful. At this point, you just created your first logo animation if this is your first time. So clap for yourself. Alright, so let's proceed now. Ctrl N on your keyboard to create a new composition. Now we're going to create that 3D ball effect that you saw in the beginning of this tutorial. So we're going to name this composition ribbon. Of course, I'm going to use the same setting I have used before and the duration, and then hit OK. So what we're going to do now is to pick the shape tool, the square rectangle tool, and then draw a simple shape at the center like this. Do not worry about the size. If you do not like the size, we can come back in later and make changes to this. So I'm going to hit V on my keyboard and then hold the Control key and double click on this anchor tool at the top hierarchy below the standard menu. Then I will simply align this to center. Even if you don't keep this to center, it doesn't really matter. It's just that you will not be able to follow with the figures I'm using in this tutorial. So I'm gonna simply duplicate this and change the color to somewhat gray. Light gray is okay. Then I'll hold this control here, this knob right here, and pull it in. I just needed a strip from this, and then I'll move it to the edge right here. So Ctrl D on your keyboard to duplicate that and then move it right above somewhat here. You can reduce the size of the strip and also change the gray color or the opacity, but I'm just gonna simply move that slightly to the white. Yes, this is okay. So what we're going to do now is to go back to our main composition, then switch this panel to the project manager window. We can see that the ribbon composition has been added to our project manager. Drag and drop it into your timeline. So what we're going to do now is to add a CC sphere effect. So that is gonna give us this spherical effect. So we're gonna switch back this to the effects and controls so that we can make some changes to this. So increase the radius until you have it size up with the first cycle shape that you drew. Do you remember? Yes, that one. So just size it down like this. So we're going to go into the shading tab right here and change this ambient to 80 and then make the diffuse 19. On the specular, I'm going to make it 1. So and now this is what I have. This strip right here at the edge is too thick and dark. So I'm going to double click on this and make adjustment to that. So let's go back to our main composition. Yes, this is fair enough. I love this. So the next thing we're going to do is to expand the rotation property of the CC sphere. So we're going to animate the rotation for this. So what we're going to do is to move our time indicator to about the point here where the logo is almost sitting still. Set a keyframe for the X value and move it like this. Make sure you move it to, make sure you set the value to 90. Then we're gonna move to about this point where the logo starts coming in to about right here and set the value of the X rotation to -90. Hit U on your keyboard to reveal the keyframes. Select your keyframes and then easy ease. Select this and then go into the graph editor to edit the split graph as usual. So I'm going to spread this across 2 seconds. From here, this is at 1 second. So I'm going to go to 2 seconds forward in time and then spread these keyframes, this last one to that spot. So that way this will play very slowly. Beautiful. So this is a bit slow. So I'm going to just select the 2 keyframe and move it into like have something that is pleasing to my eye. Beautiful. I want it to look like it is coming up just when the logo is shooting out of the cycle. Beautiful. That is too fast with the logo, so I'm still going to offset it a bit. Feel free to do this to whatever you like. Beautiful. Hold down Shift key and then hit T on your keyboard to reveal the opacity. So I'm gonna go right here, right about this point and set a keyframe for the opacity. Then I will go back to this point just before the first keyframe and set the opacity to 0. Then I'll move forward in time to where the rotation is almost complete. That is about this point. And duplicate this last keyframe, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, that will paste it to where your time indicator is. So I will go to the last keyframe for the rotation and set the value of the opacity to 0. So if you preview now, you have a trendy, smooth animation like this. Beautiful. I think the last opacity is coming too slow right here, so I'm gonna shift this so that it can come early, and I'm gonna shift this in so that it will come a bit late. Beautiful. So another thing I'm gonna do, if you look at it right here, you will see that this is almost happening directly on top of our logo. We want to make it look like this is going around our logo, or our logo is right inside it. So what we're going to do is go into the option tab right here, name render. So this render right here, we're going to change that to outside. So that way we'll only have the outer part of the 3D sphere. Another thing I'm going to adjust right here, all these are pretty optional. So you can see this is a little bit bigger than this cycle. So I'll just adjust that a tiny bit downward. This is okay. I think this ribbon is too wide, so I'm gonna go into this and select this. So like I told you before, you can always come in to change it, but if you're okay with that thick one, that is beautiful. So I'm just gonna simply reduce it like this. So if we go back to the main composition now, you will see that we have a tinier ribbon. I am okay like this. So but if you're okay with the first thick one, it's not a crime. So beautiful. The next effect we're gonna add to this is a drop shadow effect. So I'm gonna collapse the CC sphere options so that I can see my shadow effect. I'll make the distance 19. I'll make the softness 42. And I'm gonna change the opacity to 28. And so I'm gonna select this same layer, Ctrl+Shift+C on my keyboard to pre-compose. So I'm gonna name this 3D ball. Select move all attribute to the new composition is checked before you hit OK. So what I'm gonna do now is to make some couple of duplicates and then rotate it on this composition. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to hit Ctrl D on my keyboard to do the first duplicate. Then on this first duplicate, I'm gonna offset it until I have this rotation coming in late. So I'm gonna do Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate it again, and I'll offset it a bit inward here. That is, instead of offsetting it backward, I'm offsetting it right between the first one and the second one if you look at my timeline. So what I'm gonna do is to hit R on my keyboard to rotate this. I'm gonna rotate this to negative values. I will duplicate it again and also offset it backward, but this time around I'm gonna move it right below the, just above the first one. So I will have this, and then I will rotate it as well. I will just change the rotation. So I will duplicate it again. This time around I will duplicate the bottom one and move it right to the top. This will make it the 5th duplicate. I'll hit R on my keyboard to rotate this on the positive axis. Of course, feel free to offset this to whatever you like, and the way you arrange it on the hierarchy, that is the hierarchy on the timeline, also will impact on how it is on top of each other, as you can see right here. So feel free to just experiment with whatever works for you. Nothing is written on stone. So the next thing I'm gonna do now is to scroll down and select this first shape layer and then hit T on my keyboard. So I'm gonna move this just slightly to the point where the entire 3D stuff is disappearing, and then set a keyframe for the opacity. I'll just move the keyframe backward and then set the opacity value to 0. That way you will have this. We're gonna go up again, select the last one right here, right click on your timeline, go to new, and then add a new text layer. Feel free to type in whatever you like. Change the font size. I'll take it down. I want to just have it below the logo, somewhere around here. So at this point, you can feel free to animate your text in, like you see in the example video. So if you want to know how to animate several text animation, so you can check some of this my tutorial up on the YouTube channel, or you can follow the one on the card above. So what I'm going to simply do is to add a simple opacity right here. So I will hit T on my keyboard to reveal the opacity, set a keyframe, then I will go back right here, then change the opacity value to 0. I will Ctrl+Shift+C on my keyboard to pre-compose it. Then I will offset it to where the animation is about completing. That is where I want it to show. And that is it, guys. This is how you can create a trendy style logo reveal animation in Adobe After Effects. If you learned something new on this video, please hit the like button. That will enable the algorithm to suggest this to more people. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me in the comment section and I'll reply to all questions as quick as I can. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can support me in any way. You can give me super thanks, subscribe to my membership, whatever way you want to support me with. Even if you share the video, that is also a huge support and it is highly appreciated. If you like the video, leaving a comment is all a support. So with whatever way you are able to support me, I highly appreciate you. So until I see you again on the next one, my name is SSB Otaru from MotionDigit Studios.